Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming out tonight for this in-person Q&A with Everybody's Talking About Jamie. My name's Janelle Riley, I'm an editor at Variety, and I'm so thrilled to welcome you and tonight's guests. Please join me in welcoming, first of all, director JONATHAN Buttereel, actor Lauren Patel, and Jamie himself, Max Harwood.
I'm leaving.
Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on just a joyous, funny, sad, wonderful movie. And thank you and welcome to the States, I guess.
Thank you for having us.
I believe you shot this movie in 2019 before the pandemic?
We did, yeah.
How does it feel to be seeing it with people now?
A relief.
It's been a journey, hasn't it?
It's been a complete journey, yes. Yeah. I mean, we were supposed to release in October of last year. And then we've waited a year for it to share it with the world. But we've begun. We're here.
Well, I'm so glad, and I'm so glad that people are going to finally be able to see it. I'd love to...
Baby, I'm a hit.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Legit.
would you give a warm welcome
Better give me room.
for the soon-to-be legendary
Jamie New.
Me? Sorry, miss. Just daydreaming. Pretty. I got something to show you. You gotta swear not to tell anyone.
Tell anyone what?
I want to be a drag queen.
Oh my days.
You belong in the spotlight.
So, why do you want to be a drag queen?
Because it's all I ever dream of. And when I close my eyes, it's all I can see.
You just found yourself a mentor.
Yeah, yes, please. I don't know who I am.
You're 16, of course you don't. Do what you need to do. Be who you want to be.
I got the dreams, I got the style.
Mom,
I got the moves to
do you ever wish I were just normal?
No. And what's normal anyway?
'Cause I'm gonna kiss the sun.
Stop waiting for permission to be you.
Start at the beginning with you, Jonathan, because I know that you directed and developed the stage show that this is based on, but you're making your feature film debut here.
I am.
That's crazy to me
It's a
because
first for all of us.
it's so accomplished. It feels like somebody who's made 20 movies would take on a musical. When did you first start discussing the idea of making a film version, and was it always with the intention of you to direct?
Well, we created the theatre version we started to create the theatre version, and it was first performed in Sheffield, which is where this is set. And Sheffield is my hometown. And the production company, Warp Films, who'd made films like This Is England and Four Lions and Tyrannosaur, they have a base in Sheffield. And they came to see the production there. And a week later, I got a phone call saying, would I like to come in and chat to them, which I did. And they said, look, we're interested in making a movie of this. Would you be interested in letting us do that? And I said, of course. And at no point did anybody say, and we'd like somebody else to take this and direct it. So I just kept going.
That's amazing when you think about the years, sometimes decades, that some musicals take to reach the big screen.
It was amazing. I mean, yeah. I said, does this happen normally? And no, it doesn't,
I love that you thought to ask, though. And Max, I almost just called you Jamie. I'm so sorry. That's probably going to happen a lot.
Yeah, it's fine, it's fine.
I understand that this is not only your movie debut, your first professional acting job, but your first job of any kind?
No, I actually used to work in a cinema.
Oh, okay, good.
When I was 16, I worked as an usher in the cinema, sweeping the screens and ripping the tickets, which I loved. It was like sort of my education in film, really. But no, this is my first professional acting job out of college, and yeah, really crazy. I sort of have dreamed of this. Was movie musicals for me growing up were huge. On the Town, Singing in the Rain, Oliver, Annie, those are the ones I used to watch with my mum and dad and stuff. So this was maybe what the end goal of my entire career would be, a movie, musical, leading, and unfortunately I've done it
You've peaked.
I peaked.
Yes,
I peaked.
it's all
I peaked.
downhill
It's-
from
It's
here.
all downhill.
Totally.
Were you familiar with the stage show?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I watched it on a snowy day in London. I skipped school, eek, to go and see the show, a matinee with my friends, and we all cried in the stalls. And yeah, I obviously had no sort of thoughts and feelings about whether it would be a movie. I probably sat there and thought, oh, maybe this is a role that I might want to do on stage one day, because I was training in musical theatre. But no, it was so strange to then a year on to be auditioning for the role to do it in the film when I hadn't even finished college. So it was crazy. And now we're in LA, and I'm from Basingstoke, which is a small town in the south of England, and I've never been to LA before, so this is a bit crazy.
Do you have any touristy plans while you're here?
Well, we're quite busy, but I want to go see the Hollywood sign, and I think you want to
I
see...
want to go to Griffith Park so bad because they filmed La La Land there.
And Lauren, this is also your first movie, your first professional acting job.
Yeah.
That is. Were you familiar with the show?
So I heard of the show and then I watched
She wasn't.
and then I watched the bootleg version of it when I was auditioning. Sorry, Johnny. And then I paid it back in this time.
In this? You paid it back in this? This was her payback.
But no, I just remember thinking that it was so special, and I think that seeing a role, especially in musical theatre, that was like specifically made for a South Asian girl was like really special, and a shame that it's so rare, but was like really special to see, and to be able to then do that on screen is like a real privilege.
Jonathan, were you looking for complete unknowns, or did it just work out this way? What was the casting process like?
I mean, they're 16-year-old characters, so you're not necessarily going to get experienced actors. And I love working with actors, and I had no issue about whether they had done a lot before or not. I knew innately I had two actors to work with, and the actors have something innate inside them. And I from first seeing Max just send a little tape in, and in that tape he was just talking about himself, talking about his love of drag, his love of putting on makeup sometimes, and telling us a story about when he used to dress up when he was little. Just from that little thing, I kind of knew there and then. I mean, I kind of met or saw 3,000 people too.
Wow.
There were a lot of young people that I met along the way.
From the two of yours perspectives, I mean, did you think there was any chance you were going to get these parts?
No. No, absolutely not.
I was like 17 and I was like, I'm just going to go for like the audition experience.
Me too.
I'm not going to get it because
No, how dare I get it?
I'm sat in my classroom in Bolton, like I'm not going to get it. And then when I did get it, I thought that it was like a straight to TV like film for independent film that would maybe get a premiere if we were lucky. And now we're in LA.
Yeah,
And here we
big
are.
snowballing moment for us.
Big snowball.
No, yeah, I had literally was like, no, there's no way. And also, like, I joined the casting process, like, I believe that they'd been looking for my role specifically for a whole year before they cast me in. The open call had closed and opened multiple times as they'd seen lots of people. And, you don't, when you're auditioning, it's a weird thing, like, they're dating lots of different people. So I didn't know, like, if they really liked what I was doing. I just know that they kept asking back to see me. And, like, when you haven't done anything before, I was thinking, oh, my God, have I done something wrong? Like, they're wanting to see me to do that again. Like, what do I need to do different this time? But no, I think we both just really used it as an opportunity to, like, learn and grow. And maybe that's because that made me a little bit more relaxed in the process, I guess, because I was like, oh, I'm not going to get this. I'm just going to...
There was like no pressure because it was absolutely not going to happen.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
Had you ever auditioned for anything before?
No, not like not any movies, not any professional stuff. No.
That's amazing. How many auditions do you think you did? Or it's probably auditions and meetings and
Yeah, like I think 7 or 8 rounds for me.
Lawrence County.
I think I sent 2 videos in and then I did 3 auditions.
That's 5.
5.
Is that 5? 1, 2.
I know
3, 4,
maths.
Jonathan, what was the most challenging role to cast? I mean, aside from Jamie, I'll say.
really, Jamie,
Yeah.
finding that extraordinary young person who would carry the whole story on his shoulders. That was the hardest task. I mean, you arrived really late, and
Very late.
Finding Pretty was also a big challenge because finding somebody who I knew would have that beautiful chemistry was really important. You know.
I mean, the chemistry between you two is so fantastic, and I'm curious if that was instantaneous, if you had time to get to know each other, or you just hit it off right at the bat.
I think that
This is like when they're on Mr. and Mrs. and you're asking them a question where they're like, well, yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, and I also think that Johnny definitely like pushed us together and was like, I remember the first
Go and
time
have
that
lunch.
yeah, he was like, go and have dinner with this stranger, and I was like, okay. And then you were really, nice. And then we kind of, as soon as I found out that you were very new and scared.
Yeah, we both were like very honest with each
then
other, and
we
we lived
just,
in the
like-
same apartment block when we shot.
Yeah,
so.
we were like there for the whole thing for like 3 months, and we lived like basically with each other.
We
and
watched
it, like,
Chernobyl to like
Why
as
did
some
we
like
watch Chernobyl
easy
to
like
unwind?
watching
Yes,
after
yes, no
the days of
trauma.
Why did we
shooting.
do that?
Because I don't know, we were trying to get into TV, and like we were trying to like be like, yes, it's a really good TV show, we need to watch it. So
Anyway,
moving on. Back to this really joyous film that we made.
So you shared that trauma together. That's lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
we trauma bonded.
I mean, were you also training together? I have to imagine. I mean, there's choreography, you're singing, you're acting on screen, which is a whole thing to learn in and of itself. Honestly, I still don't understand how people hit their marks and make it look natural. Did you put them through some sort of a boot camp, or?
There was a bit of a kind of boot camp,
There was like a
not necessarily
2-week
boot camp, but there was. We put support in place for everybody. You know, there was a there was a wonderful acting coach who'd worked with young people, that Alison Rashley, who worked with them both, who just took them through, because obviously, as a director, you're pulled in so many different directions. I just wanted somebody to just hold them and support them and tell them what it would be like, you know, what their expectations would be from us for them. And Alison was brilliant doing that, wasn't she?
Yeah, really good. And also, in the film, lots of the like key Year 11 cast that you see doing all the dancing, me and Lauren spent like 2 weeks with them in a dance studio above a Chinese takeaway restaurant in Sheffield, doing
great.
like dance workshops and getting to know them, which was like
And
really
just,
fun.
Like, running the choreography like all day, and then when we got to set, it was like in our bodies.
And all those young people, it was essentially their first jobs.
Yeah.
Apart from Sam, really, who plays Dean, who'd done quite a lot of film work himself. One of the girls who plays Bex was so we filmed in the school in Rotherham, which is just outside Sheffield, and it was an ordinary comprehensive school, and she had just left that. She'd done her prom in school, and then a few weeks later she's doing her prom again, but you know, it was being filmed.
Yeah.
And she was getting paid, so getting paid to
Win-win.
go back to your school.
That's the dream.
Yeah, a few of the kids, I'm the same age as them. A few of the year
The kids,
11
my
classes,
kids.
I mean, like sat their GCSEs, and then 3 weeks later we were back filming at their school, and they were like 17. It was
And for me, it was
They're
really
sick.
important that the film reflected the community that it was set in. So a lot of those young people are from that community as well.
Wow.
Most of the young people are from that community.
And obviously, you have some very experienced actors in your supporting
We
cast.
certainly do.
Yes, you've got Sharon Horgan, Richard E. Grant, the wonderful Sarah Lancashire. I'm really curious. Were these people who, you know, I'm assuming they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it for the love of the project or the love of the role.
They did it because I begged them.
Did you really beg?
I really did. I really begged them. I remember all of them. I met Richard in a hotel, having begged his agent to meet, and we met. And the first question he said to me is, "Why me? Why you?" And I actually think it was a brilliant question to ask the director.
Sure.
You know. And I just admired his work, but I just thought, well, that was a bit sycophantic to say, and so obvious. I just said, well, which is the honest truth. I said, because you've got really sad eyes.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
he does, and I just wanted that depth that Richard, because Richard's an extraordinary creature, and he's got a very idiosyncratic nature, but really he has such a deep inner life that that he brings to many things. I just wanted that, you know, in this role. Sarah, I grew up as a young man, young boy, watching her on screen. And Sarah does small like nobody else I know does small. And she says it. She says, I do small. And I say, yeah, you do small in the most big way. Sharon, I really, I stalked, essentially. She kept saying no, and I wouldn't let her. So, yeah, I kept going back and back and back.
I love that, actually. For the two of you, I mean, you're working with some of the greatest actors working today, again, making your film debuts. Was it ever intimidating?
I think the first couple of days, I would be lying if I said it wasn't. But I quickly realised that these people were humans in like a really, like, that sounds really silly to say that because obviously they're humans, Max. But no, Richard basically just was like everything that you'd expect him to be. He's so much fun, really genuine. And like, I always say this, but I think he's such an amazing actor because he's an amazing person, and he really held the space for me and like nurtured me and helped me learn lots of new stuff without being patronizing or without like putting me down or making me feel any less because my list of credits wasn't as long as my arm. But yeah, so it was intimidating.
I mean, Max worked with Richard on first day of shoot because we shot because of actors availability. We shot completely out of order in many different ways, and so the first 2 weeks was Max and Richard, and my first day of shoot was one of those scenes in This Was Me where we were doing a protest march. And so there was Max and Richard in the middle of 500 people walking down the street. That was my first day. And then Max's second day was Richard and Max in the shop, where Jamie walks into the Hugo shop for the first time. And that was as the director and an observer from the outside, watching those two actors come together, was really beautiful because what Hugo does for Jamie is teach, and what Richard did for Max is teach, but in the most beautiful way to observe, because it never, like Max said, at never any point was that patronizing. His way of teaching was just to allow Max to be fully himself and listen and observe him and follow him, and it was just beautiful.
I know that the stage show is based on a documentary.
Yeah.
Is it Jamie, Drag Queen at 16?
That's correct.
Is that correct? Yeah. The real Jamie, was he involved at all? Has he seen the film?
Jamie has seen the film. Jamie was actually around set quite a lot. Jamie's in the film.
I was going to ask, actually.
So what we call the door whore. So in the first sequence, when you don't and you don't even know it, when Jamie walks out of his fantasy classroom into that street and walks into that kind of extraordinary club, Jamie Campbell is there opening the door for him, in that glorious Elizabethan drag.
Wow.
But when I first made the piece for theatre, I saw this documentary on TV completely by accident, and saw this young man get off a bus in the north of England, where essentially I come from, and just announced that he wanted to be a drag queen. And I just thought, well, what kind of young man has the courage to do that? And then to watch his relationship with his mom, and particularly his mom's relationship with him, it spoke to me very personally, and just thought, I thought it sang. And so went to the theatre in Sheffield, the local theatre in Sheffield, and said, I'd like to come and make this musical here. Would you commission it? And they did. And I then went about finding writers. So I found a pop writer who had a band called The Feeling, Dan Gillespie-Sells, and a screenwriter, Tom McRae. And we got permission from the documentary makers and permission from Jamie and Margaret, but then didn't meet them. Very deliberately didn't meet them because we wanted to be inspired by their story, but not held back by his story as well. And also, I didn't want to encumber Jamie with going, oh, but I didn't do that, or you can't write it that way, or please don't say that, or please. So, because Jamie, for instance, Jamie Campbell doesn't have a friend called Pretty Pasha. That's our invention. And also, I wanted to create Jamie new in a way that Jamie Campbell in himself could, if he needed to at any point distance himself from it and say, look, this is inspired by my story, but that isn't me, or that's not exactly what happened to me, or anything he felt that he wanted to, as I say, distance himself, he could do. He did quite the opposite, because actually when Margaret and Jamie first ever saw the piece, the first words out of Margaret's mouth were, "How did you know?"
Wow.
She said, "We've had those conversations in our kitchen." The conversation that basically when Jamie comes home and says, "I'm sorry," that's what moved her most, because she said, we've been there so many times. You felt like you'd been in our kitchen watching us.
That's amazing.
I remember I met her the day before she actually saw it, and she started saying things like, she would talk about being normal, and she would say, "Well, what's normal anyway?" And I said, "Oh my God, we've written that."
No way.
Yes.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it was amazing.
That's amazing. And knowing that, Jamie is, sort of based on him, but, not directly taken from him, was there anything you wanted to ask the real Jamie when he was on set?
Do you know what? I just wanted to get to know him, to be honest. And I asked him a lot of personal questions, and he was really open and willing to have a chat to me. I got to meet him really early on in the process. The producer, I was rehearsing up in Sheffield for like a couple of weeks, and the producer was like, "Oh, Jamie Campbell's here, you're going to meet him today." And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, cool, yeah, sure, let's do that then." Which was nerve-wracking for us both, but no, he was lovely, and he was on set lots, so we got to have many conversations, and he was just so open to this whole process, and I thank him for that, because I really wanted to bring his essence and energy to the character that I portrayed on screen, like fully. So yeah, I hope that I've done that for him and for him and his family.
I know I've stressed this a lot, but this is all of your first jobs in film. Just got to say it again because I still don't totally believe it. It's also, you're working on an independent budget. It looks fantastic, so I don't know if people are aware that it was, I don't know if you can discuss budget.
It was a very nice independent budget. It became that. I do when so we had Film for a new Regency, who are our backers, who provided the finance for it. And when I first started, Mark Herbert, the producer at Warp Films, gathered so I met all the production team and brought the production team on board. But he had a private meeting with all the head of departments, and said to them all, "Don't say no to Jonathan. It's not your job to say no. Let his imagination fly. Just go with him." And he didn't tell me this. And so I did. I just said, "But it wouldn't it be amazing if we could do this? Or wouldn't it be amazing if actually he walked out of his classroom and then into this most amazing club, and then from there he'd walk onto this amazing catwalk, And then I do remember Mark one day saying, "Jonathan, that catwalk's very expensive. Do you really need it?" And I said, "Yes, I do."
Wow.
I said, "Because we've built it this high, we can't suddenly drop. It's the next extension from this amazing club." And he said, "Okay, but do you really? Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah." So I think our budget did grow as a result of him saying, and actually, I think it grew because there was such belief for the story from the people who backed it as well.
Well, for each of you, I would love to know, what was the most challenging scene or moment? It could be a physical challenge, or it could be an emotional challenge. Just the one that sort of stands out in your minds.
My biggest challenge, I think, was the work of art sequence. We actually, you've seen it, so I can tell you. We shot it twice. So the black and white.
CGI.
No, it's not CGI. Like the black and white, we shot it twice on 2 different days. We had 2 identical sets, 2 sets of costumes, 1 black, 1 white. We had marks. The choreography was rehearsed, and it had to be really precise because obviously we're doing like flip matching, and we obviously there was. We're shooting a movie musical. There's not a lot of time, and we had to get it right. So that was like quite an intense day of shooting. Wow. That was like really physical, singing and dancing, trying to really be accurate as well for me.
Yeah,
I watched all of that be shot, and you guys are that's like my favourite scene of the film, because I know how difficult it was to get, and it looks, anyways. I'm going to stop gushing over the film that I'm in.
What was difficult? What was difficult for you?
I think Spotlight was difficult for me because it was like my first day where like I had to sing, and like you'd been so fantastic, and I was like, oh God, now it's my turn. But it was like really rewarding, and like once you got there and like we saw all of like the magical sets and the ballroom dancers and stuff, and I was like, then I was just enjoying it the whole way.
For you?
It was all difficult. I mean, as I say, it was my first experience. I'd prepped. I'd done mood boards. I'd done so much prep.
I don't think you slept, actually.
I didn't sleep. But you can't prep for what you don't know.
No.
And I'd done as much background research as I could. I'd done as much film knowledge as I could possibly do in a kind of crash course. But it was the hardest thing as a filmmaker is a ticking clock. It's just the hardest thing because you've got to finish the day. It's got to be in the can. It's got to be, and it's got to be. And I am like a perfectionist, so it was really, I would sometimes, I push hard because they would go, well, have we got Mark, the producer, would go, you've got it, Jonathan. I go, we haven't. There's one line that's just not landing yet. And I'd go in for this.
It's when Mark Herbert would be, are we still on wide? Are we still on wide?
Are we still on the
wide shot is what he used to come down and say.
Because I just wanted detail. I just wanted to find that detail and that precision. And so it was all difficult. And it was exhilarating at the same time. I would describe it like the most amazing roller coaster. At times it's so exhilarating. And then at other times you kind of get over the hump and you're going down, you go, I'm going to die. I'm just going to die.
I know how popular the stage show was, but at the same time, there are probably so many Jamies all over the world, or people who love Jamies, who are now, going to get to see this. Film is just, a different medium.
For me, I wanted to find the universal Jamie. I wanted to find the Jamie that was in all of us, no matter how old we were, or where we came from, or how we saw ourselves, or where we found our identity. Because we all know, whether we're young or old, what it is to try to find what your place is in the world and how to take it with courage. And as a parent, you know what it must feel like to let your fledgling begin to fly, and as a fledgling how difficult it is and frightening it can be to just step out and take the courage. And also we've been in such a kind of in Britain, and I know here, a kind of entrenched world, a kind of a world of dualities, one argument against another argument, and I just wanted to take us out of there and just go, actually we share a common humanity. And all of us have a version of a dress inside us that we want to express ourselves. With Pretty, it's she wants to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. With Jamie, he wants to be a drag queen. With other people, it might be something very simple. I just wanted to find that universal thing in which we could say everybody has that, needs that courage, and also, really, most importantly, because Jamie's journey is essentially quite small. It's not a coming out story. It's not a victim. I deliberately didn't want to make it a victim story, because young, effeminate, gay men are often either sidelined as the comic character or somehow are the victims. And I didn't want to tell that story at all. I wanted to really tell a story of a community that made a shift, that allowed a safe space for this young man to take his place in the world.
That's fantastic, and I would say you accomplished that, and much, much more. Yes. I want to remind everyone, actually, this movie will be on Amazon Prime on September 17th. Yes, it's right there. Please spread the word. Let people know it's such a special movie. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It's great to meet everybody and share this with you.